and stillness. And it begins, as always, with these branches. The text says, people spread leafy branches that they had cut in the fields. Cut, not carried from home, not kept for this occasion. Cut that morning from wherever they were growing. There's something urgent about that word, something improvised. Nobody planned the branches. Nobody had them ready. When the moment came, they reached for what was closest, and they cut it. Yesterday, millions of people did the same thing in the streets, in every state, throughout this country, in many other countries. People who had never protested before. People who disagree about a lot of things, but they agree on one thing. Enough. Enough. Say it with me. Enough. Enough. They reached out for what was nearest. A branch, a sign, their bodies. They showed up. A voice, and they laid it down. This is not a metaphor. This is the news. I think that's how most of us live our faith. Honestly. We don't have it all sorted out already. We don't have the right words prepared. We don't have the right theology figured out, the right courage it takes to show up in the face of the war horse. And so we reach out for what's nearest. We cut something from where it's growing. We reach out to one another, and then we lay it down. And sometimes that's enough. Howard Thurman spent his life asking one question: what does your religion say to people who have their backs against the wall? The dispossessed. That's who's in this story. 2,000 years ago, the people who were lined up while the colt and Rabbi Jesus marched down, they weren't there out of curiosity. They were there out of desperation. They were there because something in them still believed. Even though Rome was still Rome, the poor still poor, nothing visible had changed. Something in them said, this one is different. This one comes not on a war horse, but on a little colt. This one came not to conquer, but to save us. 2 processions, then and now. One on a colt, one on a war horse. The crowd of dispossessed knew which one they were following. They knew, and as Howard Thurman put it, they heard the sound of the genuine. There's something in every person that knows when it hears the real thing, even when everything else is noise, even when the cries go up unanswered. And when that crowd recognized who was coming, what was coming down that road, riding on a little colt, something ancient in them moved. something ancient from their recollection of the Passover, the liberation from Pharaoh, from slavery. Something in them moved. And so they spread their cloaks. They cut branches and laid them down. This is what recognition looks like when it becomes action. Not a decision, more of a gut-body response, an intuition. The body knows, the heart knows. The heart knows before the mind does. And this is what this moment requires. A cloak on the road is a person saying, whatever's needed, I'm laying it down, giving it already. And then the Romans came. And the crowd does what frightened people do under brutal empires. They do what they usually do. They capitulated. Not because they stopped believing. Not because the sound of the genuine went silent in them, but because, like us, they were afraid. Because the war horse was real. The war horse is real. And the soldiers were real. They are real. And the cross, the crucifixion, the means of execution by the state was very real. Very, very real. They weren't villains. They were frightened. They did what frightened people do. They survived. And by Friday, they weren't begging Jesus to save them. They were praying that they would not be crucified with him. And Jesus saved them anyway. Not as anyone hoped or expected, not as a war horse, but broken, cut down on a cross, drinking Rome's cup to the last drop. And so we come to this table, just like 2,000 years ago, Passover, then and now. We come as frightened people, as people who know what it means to capitulate, as people who have looked at the war horse and gone silent. And this is exactly what this table is for. The Passover table, the Last Supper table, our table. In a few moments, we'll hear the story of that night, that Passover. Jesus took the bread and he broke it. The branches were cut in the morning. The bread will be broken in a moment. And by Friday, so will Jesus. This is what the Passover has always been, has always known. That liberation costs something. Someone is always cut. And then we'll hear what happened after that Passover supper. How Jesus went ahead just a little bit further into the garden and sank into a pit of suffocating darkness. and prayed, Abba, if it's possible, save me. Get me out of this. And so we come because we're hungry. We come because something in us still recognizes the genuine across these thousands of years echoing through time. We come even when the week ahead is dark and terrifying. Even when our best prayer is not what I want, but what you want. This is the Sunday of the branches, of improvised faith, of reaching for what's nearest and deciding this moment is worth it. Go into this week with your hands a little empty, watching for what's growing nearby. Cut something. Lay it down. Let's hold the silence for a moment. A word from Howard Thurman, who writes, I will sing a new song. I must learn the new song for the new day. I must let its melody find lodgment in my heart, and its rhythm find its way through all my movements. On this day that holds both palm branches and a cross, the crowd that shouted Hosanna and the crowd that shouted crucify him, they were not two different crowds. They were the same people in the same week, caught between hope and fear, between the procession they believed in and the empire they were afraid of. We are those people. And still, Jesus is with us. And we're still learning what it costs and who it frees. And so we remember that Passover